Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 229 based on novel. So let's start. The huge wood tribe's millions of tribesmen have been slaves and suppressed for countless generations. It could be said that the thought of the demons being invincible had been ingrained into their minds the moment they were born. It was already common knowledge. And now, there was a mysterious being that actually easily defeated 10 of them. It had left them completely stunned. God, this was a god. It's God. The genius and number one warrior Dragon Lu knelt there, looking at the silver-armored black-haired youth and the black-robed bald man, his blood boiling from within. This was the strength he was seeking. A powerful sense of anticipation filled his mind. He knelt there and struck his head hard on the ground, after which he looked up and shouted loudly, "Dragon Lu is willing to serve the god. Please, accept and take me in." Luo Feng turned to look at the messy-haired youth. A thought appeared in his head, an absolute genius of a race, the number one race. I was the top genius back on Earth back then too, however I was much luckier. I have the golden horned beast, the Yunmo planet inheritance, all these helped me rise up in the universe. All this punk needs is an opportunity. Luo Feng. Dylan communicated, "You do not need to care about this punk. Since the Virtual Universe Company has given you the mission to deal with the Flame Wind organization, then it's obvious they want to get rid of it. After everything, the slave planets etc. left behind, the company would naturally take care of them and make it so they won't remain as slave planets." Luo Feng nodded. Slavery was something many great beings disliked. The Virtual Universe Company was clear on this. However, as there were resource limitations and competition within the race itself, slaves had become a very common product. Naturally they didn't intervene. However, the moment they got rid of some organizations, the slave planets left behind, the company would naturally not cash in on them but actually help them become normal life planets. The Virtual Universe Company will send people over to manage and help revitalize the entire planet. Punks with talent like this Dragon Lu will also receive nurturing. Dylan said. Luo Feng nodded and glanced at Dragon Lu. This punk will have to depend on himself then. Let's go. Luo Feng instantly became a beam of light. Su. Dylan followed. The two vanished from the sights of the millions of huge wood tribes people, leaving behind them with their mouths gaping. What do we do? What do we do now? Now that the demons have been killed, the Demon Palace will definitely be enraged. We are in trouble. The Demon Palace may take it out on us. The millions of tribe people were in a flurry, all extremely afraid. The many generations of being suppressed had ingrained in their minds that the Demon Palace was the strongest being out there. The god didn't accept me, God. Dragon Lu knelt there, somewhat lost. However, after seeing the bodies of the Flame Wind Organization soldiers, he shuddered. With the Demon Palace's brutality, when they vent it on our tribe, we will all be killed. What do we do now? Cold sweat beaded from his forehead. Little punk, the Demon Palace will be destroyed. Base planet will have an equal chance to develop like the other life planets. Just wait for the members of the Virtual Universe Company to come. A voice resounded within his mind. It's the god's voice. Dragon Lu's eyes gleamed and it seemed like he was filled with energy, after which he was curious. The Virtual Universe Company's members will come to our planet? What is the Virtual Universe Company? Will this company be able to defeat the invincible Demon Palace? If the top 18 executives of the Flame Wind Organization had heard these words, they would probably all be shuddering in fear. Demon Palace. The most terrifying place within Base Planet, the place countless slaves feared. Actually, there was a group of elite guards stationed here by the Flame Wind Organization. It was made of 1 universe level and 50 star levels along with 5,000 star traveler level 9s, hence their strength on this planet was so powerful. The Rainbow Flame Herb was very valuable, and this planet was the core planet of hundreds around it, hence there was a universe level stationed here. Universe level warrior, within a normal galaxy, he was already invincible. Clous of the 18 executives had brought his guard team to Base Planet. He treated it completely as a holiday place, staying within the Demon Palace, with many female and male staff sent over from the large amount of slave planets around. He led a carefree life. The 18 executives all had their own temperament. Clous enjoyed the feeling of torturing slaves, hence he would frequently head down to the slave planets for periods of time. The strongest Pan 11 of the 18, he was already Sector Lord level 3, he was very self-disciplined. Other than the occasional outburst, he spent most of his time on the minor planet Bay En. That was a cluster of minor planets that was impossible for normal people to survive. That was his training spot. The ear-piercing warning sound resounded throughout the Demon Palace. The palace that took up tens of kilometers about a majestic peak was instantly thrown into chaos. What's going on? What's happening? The leader of Base Planet was a man with green fur and eyes. He looked like a wolf at first glance. He was the manager of Base Planet and the surrounding hundreds of other slave planets. Moser, a Universe Level 7 warrior. The executive is in my demon palace and an alarm actually goes off. He would definitely be enraged. Moser was so scared cold sweat covered his body. Simultaneously his arm quantum computer connected to the planet's security system, and through it, Moser clearly saw what had happened. The two mysterious men, a silver-armored youth, a black-robed bald man, easily killing a team of his underlings. They had to be at least universe level. They actually didn't even alert the planet's security system and entered the planet. These two. Moser was shocked, quickly rushing towards the core of the palace to alert Clous. Lord Clous. Lord Clous. Moser rushed towards the core. Rumble, many silhouettes swiftly flashed through the palace, all dressed in uniformed blood-red armor, their powerful energies spread out. These were all Universe Level 9 in strength. They coldly looked at Moser, scaring him so much he didn't dare move anymore. Moser, what are you doing? The leader of the guards, Domain Lord Level 5 warrior, looked on coldly at Moser. Lord. Moser said with fear. There are two mysterious warriors that have suddenly come to Base Planet. The planet's security system didn't even detect them, and one of my teams have already been destroyed. There isn't a power here in Kui Lang Starfield that dares mess with the Flame Wind organization. The vice captain said coldly, immediately send all the information in your quantum computer to the Lord. You don't have to go disturb him. Yes. Moser said respectfully. The levels in the organization were very strict. The 18 executives were high above. As a power with Sector Lord strength, even though they weren't in the top 10 of the Kui Lang Starfield, they could still rank in the top 50. This was simply the superficial strength. Such an organization, relying on a slave market and other dark methods to rise up, their background wasn't that simple, hence the captain dared to say there wasn't any power in the entire Starfield with the strength to mess with the Flame Wind organization. It was a pity. This was the virtual universe company sending its people. Rumble. In an instant. A powerful silhouette rushed out. He was over 3 m tall and powerfully built. His face was covered in a black beard, his eyes purple. A powerful energy emanated from him. This tall and sturdy man was one of the 18 executives of the Flame Wind organization. Clous. At this time, he said with shock, everybody separately take your universe ships and leave Base Planet. Yes, Lord Clous. Even though they were puzzled, they all simply complied. Immediately. Over 100 silhouettes flew through the skies out of the Demon Palace. Almost all of them took out a C-grade ship from their space rings. Clous too took out a similar ship. Obviously he wanted to lose himself amongst the crowd, making the enemy unable to determine which ship he was in. You think you can run? A cold voice resounded. Immediately countless glaring gold lights lit up the skies of the Demon Palace. These gold lights were little golden blades. Countless blades swept past the skies and the C-grade ships were instantly torn apart, all falling from the skies like rain. Over 100 ships immediately crashed into the roof of the Demon Palace. Decorations etc. flew in all directions. Clous and his guard team all watched in fear at the scene. After which they looked in the distance. In the dark night, the Demon Palace and the Huge Wood Tribe were at different ends of the planet. It was day at the Huge Wood Tribe and night here. Clous and his guard team clearly saw two silhouettes floating in the night, a silver-armored youth and a black-robed bald man. GRE, greetings undying. Clous immediately knelt on one foot, saying with fear. After hearing Lord Clous speak those words, the guards were all filled with fear, all imitating him and kneeling. Greetings undying. Their voices resounded across the skies, and the true owner of Demon Palace, the universe-level Moser and his underlings all looked up and saw this scene. Their revered powerful Lord Clous was shivering and kneeling with fear. Undying? My God. Greetings undying. Moser knelt too, everyone about him did the same. In the distant skies, Luo Feng and Dylan began to chat. This punk sure has good sight, he can actually tell I'm undying. Dylan laughed and said. Clous knelt in mid-air and looked up at the two of them. He said respectfully, two lords, I, Clous, am one of the executives of the Flame Wind organization. 5% of the shares belong to me, and I'm willing to give it all to you too. I also have some connections with a prince of the Ganwu universe country. You mean the 7th prince? Luo Feng gazed down at him. Clous was shocked. There were many princes within the royal family, and as time passed, many had already died of old age with very few becoming undying. Of which the 7th prince was one that became undying. The Flame Wind organization did have connections with the 7th prince. He actually even knows this secret. Clous was shocked. Yet, he wouldn't have expected that Luo Feng had already gotten incredibly detailed information from the virtual universe company's information department, easily knowing all of their connections. However, within the entire Ganwu universe country, as one of the 4 tycoon heads of the Ganwu department, probably only the Ganwu universe country leader could intimidate Luo Feng. He couldn't care less about anybody else. May I know why you two have come to base planet? Whatever it is, I will definitely provide my assistance. Clous said respectfully. We came to judge you. Luo Feng said. Klaus's expression changed immediately. He smiled wryly and said, the 2 lords must be joking. I have never met you two before or created any grudge either. The guards around them were all shocked. The Clous that they protected was considered as one of the highest standing people within the entire Qilang star field. He even had connections with the core of the Ganwu universe country. Clous was definitely a powerful person here. A single order would cause fear within countless planets, and with just one word, countless heads would roll. This was Klaus's power. Just the number of slaves he controlled ranged up to the trillions, and the number of slave planets he owned went up to the tens of thousands too. He was extremely powerful, much more than many basic-level civilization emperors. However, at this time, he knelt there in fear. In the air above the demon palace, Luo Feng said coldly, 3 domain lords, 101 universe levels, 49 star levels, close to 5,000 star travelers. All the members of the Flame Wind organization kneeling there were utterly shocked. This was the strength of the organization there on base planet, of which the 3 domain lords and 100 universe levels were Klaus's, guard captain, vice captain, and 100 guards. Rumble. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed coldly. His formless spirit energy penetrated the 49 star level members' minds, searching their souls. Luo Feng had already killed 1 star level soldier earlier at the Huge Wood tribe. These 50 soldiers were the ringleaders of the force stationed here on base planet. After searching their souls, Luo Feng swiftly understood the 49 star levels and their 100 underlings' situation. He also understood more about their leader Moza. Anita? Luo Feng roared seriously, his voice resounding throughout the entire air above the palace. Immediately a star-level lady amongst the others looked up curiously. Dia! A star-level 9 soldier looked up. Fei Yen. A star-level 9 soldier looked up. Cliff. Another star-level 9 soldier looked up. Doug. A universe-level 9 member kneeling in mid-air looked up curiously. 5 names, the powerful silver-armored man had shouted out 5 names. I judge the 5 of you to be innocent. Luo Feng's gaze swept past the thousands of silhouettes. Whether it was the group of universe-level soldiers kneeling in mid-air or the many more Star Traveler level 9s below, they were all shocked. Everyone else? Luo Feng smiled, his eyes flashing with bloodthirst, will be given a death sentence. I'll personally execute it. The moment his words left his mouth, the thousands around the demon palace were all filled with fear, many shouting out. Flee! Disperse and flee! Hurry! No one even thought of resisting, as they all chose to run. Luo Feng stood in mid-air and said softly, Blade World. The dark golden long rod on his back shot out tens of millions of gold light fragments. Countless little gold blades interweaved with large amounts of lore threads, instantly covering the entire area and forming a vast blade world, countless amounts of blade energy swirling within. Under the pressure of the blade world, no one could run. The 5 innocent parties were tossed out by Luo Feng's blade energy. Dylan too stood outside, within. Other than Luo Feng, the controller, everyone else was sentenced to death. Lord, 2 lords, spare me. Clous realized there was nowhere to run, he quickly shouted in fear. Luo Feng however became a blur and unleashed his teacher Boo Boo's claw technique, 3000 space. Within this blade world, Luo Feng chased and killed each and every warrior. As his claws slashed through a person's head, red blood spewed everywhere like overflowing wine. As he slashed a person's chest, the slash continued up to the neck and tore apart their heads. Violent attacks, leaving their heads open like watermelons being smashed. With just a wave, a person was torn in half. Fresh blood flowed, and broken armors landed on the ground stained in red. The demon palace had long crumbled from Luo Feng's occasional energy bursts. Parts of the palace were crumbling throughout. As for the bodies, some had scales while others had heavy fur, and at this time, the dead came in all sorts. The less severe ones simply had their heads cut open, while the more severe ones were struck by over 100 claws and howled in pain before dying. The other bodies were split in two, and some were torn apart with broken limbs and internal organs strewn about. This was a blood world, fresh blood stained the entire ground. Madman, it's a true madman, a bloodthirsty madman. Klaus's expression was pale. As he looked on in fear at the scene, he wanted to flee, yet he couldn't break through the blade world's pressure. Death. Thousands of them were all killed in just 5 minutes. Luo Feng had killed over 10 people every second, and some even received over 100 claws before they were killed. Silence. With the thousands within the blade world killed, only Clous was left behind. Clous, it's just you left. With a flash, a silhouette appeared before Clous. It was Luo Feng. Clous looked on with fear at the silver-armored youth. After massacring so much, even though this youth had fresh blood all over him, his expression was still ice-cold, and even his gaze was ice-cold. The only thing was, within his gaze there was a sense of mad bloodthirst. Obviously the killing had triggered the bloodthirst within his bones. How thrilling. Luo Feng felt his soul moan, massacre sure is addictive. Howl. The golden horned beast in the internal world raised its head and howled. Man is fundamentally good in nature. The golden horned beast, however, was fundamentally bloodthirsty. It made Luo Feng that way from within his bones. Clous was filled with fear. As a member of the Virtual Universe Company, I am but an ant to you, Lord. I am not even worth the thought of killing. Clous and the other guard members had already connected to the Virtual Universe network earlier when they couldn't escape. However, they were shocked to realize that they all couldn't connect, and disallowing the connections of people was something only the Virtual Universe Company had the power to do. Hence, Clous had guessed that this was a member of the company. Luo Feng, who had changed his facial features, made it so that Clous would never have expected this person before him to be the genius Luo Feng. You've guessed about the Virtual Universe Company? Luo Feng looked at him. Lord, please spare my life, I'll do anything. Clous said. Anything? Then, go and die. Luo Feng waved his right hand fiercely. It became a claw and slashed down from high above. Clous fought hard before it, wanting to use his genetic energy blade to defend. However, Luo Feng triggered the space and gold laws within his claw. The claw smashed down on the blade and caused it to cut right into Klaus's head. Rumble. Clous was shaken so badly that his entire body crumbled, and even his bones were shattered. At the same time, the blade world and blade energy immediately destroyed his life core. It had ended. Luo Feng stood in the vast blade world, looking at the blood river around the destroyed demon palace. As he looked at the mangled bodies, he felt a sense of perfection with the scene. What a heartwarming sight. Bloodthirst rose within his body and mind, as he wanted to continue killing. The blood of the golden horned beast and its effect on my soul has long entered my bones. Luo Feng shook his head. Rumble. The blade world crumbled and countless gold lights returned to the dark golden long rod on his back. With a flash, he returned to Dylan's side. You seem to enjoy that a lot. Dylan looked at Luo Feng. I feel like you are more suited to the name Bloodthirsty than even my teacher, the Bloodthirsty Emperor. Luo Feng laughed. His third senior was named Bloodthirst Emperor. Luo Feng was different though, whether it was the massacre he did during the genius competition selections or massacring in reality, he always maintained a state of ice cold. It was almost like killing was as normal as eating and drinking. After all, most humans didn't enjoy killing naturally, and very few could actually reach such a state. Let's wait, the people of the Virtual Universe Company will come soon and collect Base Planet. Luo Feng said. Dylan nodded. Luo Feng gazed down at the distant 5 innocent survivors. They were deemed innocent by Luo Feng. At this time they all looked on with fear at the blood river about the demon palace. It was a nightmare. They then looked up at Luo Feng, unable to imagine just how this silver-armored youth could turn so terrifying the moment he unleashed his strength. About half an hour later, a huge universe ship reached Base Planet. It was the Virtual Universe Company's members coming to collect Base Planet. The 5 survivors were passed on to them by Luo Feng, after which, he then left. The Yunmo planet ship traveled within the dark universe. Luo Feng, from start to end, you kept your synchronized broadcast with the Virtual Universe network. They clearly saw your scene of massacre. Dylan shook his head. I didn't expect you to not even use the blade energy to kill them, but to kill them personally one by one. Did it feel good? Killing them personally felt better. Luo Feng shook his head. Let them see everything. I know myself, whatever I do, I'll stay true to it. The Grandmaster probably favors you because of this. Dylan smiled and nodded. Luo Feng had begun his massacre. On Quilang planet within Quilang starfield, Luo Feng had killed all of Kevin and his guards. A total of 103 people had died, leaving none behind. On the same day, he had reached Fu Di planet. Almost all of it had become Benedict's private planet. He had hundreds of thousands of staff, tens of thousands of guards, and his power was heavenly. He lived carefree within his own palace. The massacre on Fu Di planet, Luo Feng had killed a total of 36,237 people. Countless people were shocked at the scene happening in front of them. Benedict himself was punished harshly. Luo Feng had used his blood shadow blade to slash him over 10,000 times before letting him die. On the fourth day, Luo Feng reached Yi Wei planet. It was also the home of Lekae, one of the 18 executives. Luo Feng killed Lekae and his guards, a total of 103 people, one of which Luo Feng deemed innocent and let go. On the 26th day, it was also the craziest massacre of the Flame Wind organization till date. This time it was on Dripping Planet. It was a planet completely in the control of one of the 18 executives, Li. This Dripping Planet had incredibly tight security. It was a complete demon hell. This planet was also a favorite place to relax amongst the powerful among the Quilang starfield. All sorts of corruption could be seen here. It made these people addicted to the rush. This time, Luo Feng had killed a total of about 100,000 people, including Li and his underlings. A larger amount of them were taking their ships and fleeing, while these powerful people were massacred on a large scale. Even their guard teams were madly killed. Eventually, even those people were killed. The entire Dripping Planet had become a blood ocean. Even the members sent by the Virtual Universe Company were shocked at the bloodbath. During this battle, Luo Feng had killed a grand total of over 1.02 million people. His blood shadow blade had killed everyone he had deemed guilty. Among the 18 executives, Luo Feng had already killed 16 of them. Wei Feng planet. This was a planet with frequent howling winds. The normal civilians of the planet usually spent most of their lives cooped up within the city, and in the northwest region of the planet, there was a luxurious planet that took up over 100 kilometers in area. The guards stationed there were over 10,000 in number. The slaves ranged in the tens of thousands. It was the true free and unfettered area of the planet. Why do you have to kill me? Why? Amidst the bloody ocean in the palace, the 17th executive Pa Li Manda's eyes flashed coldly, staring at Luo Feng. You are guilty. Luo Feng wielded his blood shadow blade and stood before him. That formless bloodthirst made him cower in fear. Luo Feng's massacre over this period of time had indeed reached an insane level, and he didn't even bother to try and suppress it. He wanted to clearly see just how strong his bloodthirst within was. Hence, he didn't use the quickest killing methods, which was to use his spirit energy weapon. Rather, he simply used his blood shadow blade to kill them one by one. He had initially wanted to use only his hands, however the numbers were too huge, and his claw efficiency was too low, hence he decided to use his blade. I'm guilty? You are a member of the Virtual Universe Company, however you cannot slander me. I have lived here on Wei Feng Star from a young age, alone, growing up and working hard. Even after joining the Flame Wind organization, I never questioned their doings. Li was in charge of the business side, and the entire fate is managed by the boss Pan 11. As for the inhumane practices, I've never dealt in them. Then, why do you say I'm guilty? Why? He roared. When the Flame Wind first began, it faced dangers from all sides. Luo Feng said indifferently. Back then, the 18 domain lords killed all about in order to gain portions of the market and in order to make the powerful people fear you. In 3 short months, you all killed all the 621 powerful people and their 32,193 underlings. Pa Li Manda was shocked. You all killed whoever stood in the way. And even though you never dealt in the dark dealings, you've allowed them to happen and still gain large amounts of profits from them. Luo Feng said coldly, you've never been the main dealer, however you have no right to say you are clean of them. Pa Li Manda choked. Even though you aren't as dirty as others, however, you rely on these businesses to gain endless wealth. Hence, you deserve to die even more. Luo Feng said coldly. I only relied on the Flame Wind organization as a stepping stone to gain more resources to train. Pa Li Manda howled. A blade flashed as Pa Li Manda stared wide-eyed, after which he was split in half with his internal organs flowing onto the floor. HMPH. Luo Feng flipped the blood shadow blade in his hand and sheathed it, after which he turned and left. In the dark universe, the Yunmo planet ship was flying. In the control room, Dylan and Luo Feng sat there and sipped wine. After massacring, you specially pick red wine to drink. Dylan shook his head. Luo Feng lifted his glass. The red wine shone under the light, reflecting the desires of his heart. Luo Feng said softly, drinking wine after massacring sure is a nice feeling. I can only sigh at your massacres. Dylan shook his head. If it weren't for my experiences with my teacher and having seen his bloodthirsty ways, I probably won't be able to get used to your massacres. Those that should be killed, I kill. Those that shouldn't, I won't. Luo Feng said. Just like the first time on Base Planet, the detailed information of Clous and his guards had all been provided by the Virtual Universe Company. As for the large amount of Star Traveler Level 9s of the Demon Palace, Luo Feng had used his soul techniques to search their souls and understood their pasts. Those that shouldn't die, Luo Feng didn't kill. Those that were guilty, he killed them all. How do you judge who you should kill and who you shouldn't? Dylan asked with curiosity. Are you so sure that your judgment is right? If this question were to be given to 100 people, there'd probably be 100 answers. Dylan, among the people that I have killed so far, whom do you think I shouldn't have killed? Luo Feng asked in return. If there's no reason to, naturally I won't kill them. I always kill with a reason. Dylan laughed. Whatever anybody else thought of this was fine, Dylan was pretty satisfied with the answer. As he was an undying and he had battled in the outer region wars before. He was very clear, the race wars were brutal, as long as one was stronger than the other, that would mean he could kill him or capture. There was no space for leniency. No retreat. If humanity took a step back and got weaker, the other races would get stronger and step forward. In the long run, it would be a slippery slope down for the strength of humanity, as their regions would get smaller and hence, one couldn't be soft. The bloody race wars would make many of the weaker-willed people go crazy and crumble within. And these were only the normal scenes. Even those that self-declared they enjoyed massacre, killing 100s was nothing. Truly killing means to kill tens of thousands to millions, even hundreds of millions of others, especially using all sorts of illusions and bloody battles in the wars. It was easy to be shaken by these type of killings, hence there were many that lost their minds and died within the battlefield. Understanding why you kill is very important. Dylan nodded. Even if your reasons are very simple, you have to have a reason within your heart and determination. If there isn't any determination, when you enter the outer region wars in the future, and get messed up by the illusions and so on, it would be very easy to begin doubting yourself. I understand. Luo Feng smiled and nodded. The wars on Earth alone would make many soldiers get mental illnesses and lose their minds. Much less the outer region wars. 2 days later, the Yunmo planet ship went through universe travel and arrived at the minor planet's Bay En. Within the control room, Luo Feng and Dylan gazed at the distant space. The little cluster of planets in distance were like messy stones all about. Pan 11. Luo Feng said softly. The true soul and spirit leader of the Flame Wind organization, who had even gotten the recognition of the 7th Prince. Compared to Pan 11, the other 17 were nothing but small fry. Dylan nodded. The two looked through Penshi's information, they couldn't help but respect him. His experiences were pretty legendary. Pan 11 was born a slave. However, on the day before he was about to be implanted with the living microchip, he rose up and took over a life planet. After which, he commanded a large amount of underlings to take a ship and leave the slave planet, leaving a large hole in the slave force there. After fleeing the slave planet, he first dispersed his underlings and obtained a universe civilian identity within Quilang Starfield alone. Living on a normal life planet in the starfield and training for hundreds of years, he waited to show himself again. When he did though, he was already a universe-level warrior. With his strength, he began to take revenge on the slave traders from back then. They had some strength too but were later destroyed by Pan 11. After which, Pan 11 took control of his own slave trading ring and became a new slave trader. With resources in hand, his power rose quickly and he later reached Domain Lord level. At this time, he contacted the other 17 Domain Lords and created an alliance. With the 18 of them together, they naturally took a greater control of the market. He had gone through careful consideration before picking his people. Those with background, those that could fight, those well known in scheming, they were all elites. With the Flame Wind organization behind him, Pan 11 got a large amount of resources and established his power before training seriously. He bought techniques and had begun training and became the only one to reach Sector Lord level 3. Through his power, he even got to know the seventh prince, and along with the prince's support, his network got even more terrifying. He was Pan 11. A slave that rose up to become a ruthless and formidable person, a Sector Lord Level 3 warrior. One had to know that the number of Sector Lords within Kui Lang Starfield was probably in the tens, and they mostly had teachers and guides, and among them were even undyings. Relying on himself and reaching Sector Lord Level 3, this was unbelievable. As the spirit leader of the Flame Wind organization, he was recognized as its boss. Pan 11 hardly ever enjoyed his luxurious life. However, he secluded himself in training, staying within Bay En planet. This Pan 11. Dylan nodded and smiled. I respect him. I respect him too. Luo Feng nodded and exclaimed. Being born a slave with nothing, training hard to reach Sector Lord level now, it is indeed impressive. And training within these minor planets, willpower, ambition, methods, he has everything. Right. Dylan shook his head. The only thing is he didn't have was a bottom line to his methods. His brutality and ruthlessness had caused trillions to suffer. The Flame Wind organization controls tens of thousands of slave planets. Many universe civilians leading peaceful lives have had their families broken because of him. Trillions of them being enslaved and sold about. Such dark methods have finally made the virtual universe company have to deal with him. Luo Feng shook his head within. Let's go judge Pan 11. Luo Feng said. Su. The Yunmo planet ship flew within the minor planets cluster. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.